Matimikos, and you're watching World Talks. The sudden fall of the Assad regime has stunned the world and raised many questions about the country's future. As more evidence of regime's crimes come to surface, Syrians wave goodbye to Russians allegedly evacuating at least one of their bases, but also face attacks from the neighboring Israel. And to talk about it, we're joined by Konrad Zasztowt from the Faculty of Oriental Studies at the University of Warsaw. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
So, how would you describe the current situation in Syria? Well, the toppling of Assad regime didn't cost much blood on either side of the conflict. But does the HTS truly control all of the country and truly control the situation?
Of course not. HTS is only in the control of the central part of the country, and of course the western part of Syria, which they had even previously. The Idlib province. But we have also still northeast, which is controlled by Syrian democratic forces. So this autonomy of Syrian Kurds, where not only the Kurds live, of course, there are also the Arabs and many other minorities living there, including Christians. But this territory is not controlled by Damascus. And now, of course, the biggest question about the next phase of this conflict is how this relationship between HTS and Sunni forces in the country with these Kurds from Syria, how it will evolve. So far, we already see fights between them in the region of Manbij, which is
which has been met with much criticism from the US. Let's remind our viewers that Kurds are backed by the US and HTS has backing from Turkey.
Yes, so previously when Assad was still there and the Russians were still there, so the Kurds on the western bank of the Euphrates river, they were somehow under the protection of the Russians, and in the eastern part they were under the protection of the United States. So the Russians are not there anymore. So HTS and other Sunni forces are pushing Kurds to the east, and in the east there are still some American troops in this Kurds-controlled territory. So far Kurds are under the American protection, but from what we heard from President-elect Donald Trump, he's not planning to continue this presence of American troops in Syria. So if it's really going, if this scenario will realize, that will be a huge problem for the Kurds, because their main adversary now is not only the Sunni forces in Syria, but also Turkey, neighbor of Syria, and for Turkey is the most important.
So, looking at the map, we can really see that they are stuck between a rock and the hard place, right?
Yes. So without Americans, it may be a very difficult situation for the Syrian Kurds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, Syrian Kurds were, as you said, somehow protected by the Assad regime, but many civilians suffered torture and death from the hands of Assad's henchmen. Now, do you think that the responsible for these crimes against civilians will face justice?
Yes, I'm sure that some of them will be arrested and there will be trials, of course. But the main guilty person, Assad,
resides in Moscow.
He's in Russia, so he's safe. Yeah, but also we heard from HTS leader Al-Julani that those minor officers of the Assad regime, they will not be persecuted, so there'll be like some kind of amnesty for them. So that was rather surprising move from his side, because everyone was expecting this bloody revenge after so many years of repressions from the Assad regime, and this Sunni majority of Syria, they were the most important target of repressions of the regime. Yeah, but it seems that at least in his declaration, he's trying to somehow reconciliate with this other part of the society. I mean, the Shia Alawite minority.
Mm-hmm. Right after the toppling of Bashar al-Assad, we've seen some pictures of Syrians crossing the border with Syria from neighboring states. But do you think that this enthusiasm will also translate into mass exodus of Syrian refugees from Europe back to the homeland?
Well, it's difficult to predict. Some of them will return to Syria, I guess, and especially those refugees, those immigrants who live now in Turkey. So Turkey is the country where there used to be even like 3 million of Syrians living in Turkish cities. In recent years, there were many social tensions between this Syrian diaspora and Turkish society. Because of the cultural barriers, cultural differences, Turks were not very happy to have so many Syrians in their country, and even this issue became a very important political issue before the elections, in the election campaign. Yeah? So President Erdogan was promising that he's going to get rid of those Syrians. Opposition was criticizing him that he's not successful. Well, now he can say that he was successful, because eventually Syrians are able to come back to Syria. And of course, many of them will come back to cities like Aleppo, where they had their property. So they would like this property back, of course.
At the moment, it seems that Ankara, I mean Turkey, is the main winner of the overall situation in Syria, given also what you just said about the position of Kurds right now. But do you believe that the US is really ready to absolutely withdraw from Syria? Now, given the vacuum of power we get there, right? Iran is not there, Russia is not there. Someone should be.
Yes, so it's a difficult question, because as I mentioned, it's everything up to Donald Trump to decide about the future of American presence, military presence there. So we can guess from the previous Trump's presidency, when in 2018 he ordered American army to leave Syria, and by that time some of the American troops really left Syria, but some of them stayed. So at the moment we have like 900 troops on the ground there, the Americans. So yeah, I can guess that probably this time again some generals will be able to convince Donald Trump that we should have at least a small contingent on the ground, because the place is too important, especially when we take into account that Trump is going to go back to very harsh policy regarding Iran. So of course Syria used to be this, for Iran, this so-called belt of resistance, Shia belt of resistance. So if Americans would like to stop reconstruction of this Shia belt, of course they need to have troops on the ground there.
And the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has already... well, not directly, but he has criticized Israel for intervening in Syria. And HTS says at the moment that it cannot afford any military conflict at the time being. So how do you think the situation will develop? Will Israel stop its incursion into Syria, or will they install some military base on Syrian ground?
Well, I think they are trying to use this transition period in Syria. So when the new government is at the moment of being constructed there in Syria. Of course, there are many independent forces. There's still Islamic State in some parts of Syria. So this explanation, Israeli explanation, why they bomb these military targets of the Syrian Arab army, Assad's army. So they don't want these assets to be in the hands of the jihadists from the Islamic State. So they don't say that we don't want this assets to be in HTS hands, but they speak about Islamic State, and of course HTS is also Islamist organization like Islamic State, but still they are different organizations and in conflict with each other.
So we have a true mosaic. We have different factions fighting over what's left of Syria. Now, is there a possibility that the country will in fact fall apart?
Yes, there is a huge possibility, and it would be more proper to say that already Syria is divided in these several parts. So now we have this basically two main parts. So the Sunni part with the HTS as a dominating power, but also many other Sunni factions, and the northeast, which is in the hands of Syrian Democratic Forces, so this coalition of Syrian Kurds with the other nationalities living there. And probably the most important issue, as I said in the beginning, will be how this relationship will evolve, whether it's going to be a prolongation of the civil war, or they are going to somehow find a solution to live together. But this is, of course, very, very difficult to imagine, especially because Ankara doesn't want.
Could the Kurds try to form their independent state?
It's not possible, and they have no such goals at the moment. So even they are underlining that we are part of Syria. They started to use this opposition Syrian flags with 3 red stars instead of 2 green stars. So they are underlining that we are part of Syria. We would like to have reconciliation, but the question is what will be the answer of the dominating power, so HTS and other factions backed by Turkey.
Konrad Zasztowt from the Faculty of Oriental Studies at the University of Warsaw was our guest tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching, and stay with us for much more here on TVP World.